While Senate Republicans are pledging to go forward with the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett, positive test results for 3 of their members, 2 on the Judiciary Committee, could put that prospect in jeopardy. So will the hearings go ahead as planned on October the 12th? And what about the vote? Let's bring back Sara, Jason and Tammy. Jason, I want to get your thoughts on this because I've read, first of all, let's just assume we all agree that this should go ahead. I don't think there's going to be any dispute between us on that. My question is, technically, can it happen? I understand that they can have virtual hearings. We get it. I've read somewhere that the Senate rules mean that they actually have to be there to vote in person. And there are 2 votes that matter. A vote of the Judiciary Committee to get it out of the committee to the main Senate. And then, of course, the main confirmation vote of the whole Senate. And that actually all the senators have to be there in person. And that's a problem if 2 or 3 of them, or maybe even more, are in quarantine. So what do you know about any of this?
It will move forward. There's no doubt in my mind about it. Remember, it's these same Democrats who claim they don't even need to meet with Amy Coney Barrett. They don't even need to meet with her. And suddenly you have a couple people on the Republican side of the aisle that are in quarantine, and suddenly they can't move forward. The reality is this is more than 10, this is, some 10 days away from when, say, Mike Lee, for instance, was originally diagnosed. I think he will be well and fine in there. They can technically start the hearing process without those senators present. But you're right, they do need to have a quorum in order to hold a vote, to move it to the floor. There are procedural ways to bring it to the floor without going through the committee, although that is pretty rare, and they would have to do some things to make that happen. But it is going to move forward. Also, remember, it was Senator Orrin Hatch when Senator Kennedy was sick and he couldn't show up. They would pair his vote. Senator Hatch would say, I won't vote if Senator Kennedy, I don't want to make him come in from the hospital. That would be very, very polite of them to do it. If they don't do it, they can hold that vote open and bring these people in one at a time to the floor when nobody else is there and cast their vote in person. So it's going to happen no matter what the Democrats think. They can hold that vote open as long as possible, and even if they have the coronavirus, they can come to the floor and vote. But they should pair votes with the Democrats to make these people so they don't have to come in. That would be the collegial way to move forward.
Well, let's not hold our breath for that. Sara, what do you think?
That's what I was going to say. Of course, they need the quorum, but, the Democrats are going to fight this tooth and nail, and they think they can. And the reason is because they see the Supreme Court, in their mind, legislates, right? They see the Supreme Court as legislating from the bench. So they want to stop. They want to stop this confirmation, and they've been very clear about that. So I believe that it'll go forward, though I do hesitate, because I understand that the Democrats right now believe this is the battle of their lifetime to stop this confirmation, and I think that's what they're going to try to do. Now, October 22nd is the date that's going to be set for the vote, according to Chairman Graham. And I do believe, just like Jason said, we're going to see, there's enough time between now and then for certainly for the senators to heal up and get ready for the vote. We don't know if other people will come up positive, though, during that time. But certainly I would keep my eyes open for what the Democrats plan on doing, because there's always a concern. They can always do something to try to stop this.
And so even if there are more what we're hearing is that they can, from Jason, they can find a way, they can figure this out. Tammy, it was I guess it's not unbelievable. It's so shamelessly opportunistic, Schumer, like within hours, jumping on this and saying, right, that means we have to stop this nomination process.
Yes, and what was funny is that so desperate that he forgot, I guess, that the entire nation has been doing all of its business by Zoom meetings for the last 6 months. His explanation then was you would need a back and forth, and you need to be, last time I checked on all the Zoom meetings, which I now hate, you can actually ask questions, you can have a back and forth, but this is where you really lose. It's unfortunately funny, because Americans listen to that and think, is he that disconnected? Does he not know, and this is possible, that this is what Americans have been doing. This is what we've had to deal with our own businesses, with people we work for, with our schools, with our children, with our parents who we can't see because they're in a nursing home. And he stands there, and this is where it became insulting, and says, We can't do this because you have to have face-to-face. Well, you know what? Americans have been putting up with this for 6 damn months, and you're now going to have to put up with it as well. Because remember, in the midterms, the American people gave the Republicans even more power in the Senate, which was a statement after the Kavanaugh hearing. And it was a statement that the Republicans are in charge of the Supreme Court. Sit down and shut up.
There you go. Fighting talk, Tammy Bruce. We love it.